Hello there. Let's have a look at the match between Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura. Now this is also day one of the semifinals. First match, 4 games of 15 plus 10 rapid. And well, we are going to start with game number 2. Game number 1 is drawn. Here in game number 2, Wesley So has the white pieces and he opens up with pawn to e4. And guess what? Yes, it's the Italian game. Gioco pianissimo. Gioco pianissimo. When they play this slow Italian. That's what they call it. Okay, h6, rook e1, castles. Normal, standard moves here. In this game, Nakamura goes for a5. a6, of course, also an option. And now he goes for bishop e6, and when the rook is here, sometimes they take. When it's not, they don't want to take and open up the f-file, so they play bishop e5, preserving the bishop. If the bishop was already here, they would probably play it here. You know, it depends on the circumstances. Bishop e6, knight g3, and here knight h7, which yeah, actually is a novelty, but the battle plans remain similar. But Nakamura goes for knight c5 here, doubling his pawns, but also clamping down a little bit on white, who is probably never going to play f4 here. And we'd probably love to swing the knight over here. It takes a lot of time and you'd have to defend this pawn, but that would be a cool maneuver, but probably not very realistic, since d4 is played here by Wesley So, threatening d5. Of course, it looks like the pawn is attacked 3 times, only defended 2 times, but we can eliminate the defender. And we are forced to do so after Nakamura takes on d4, bishop takes c6, and takes on d4. So giving up the bishop pair. Nakamura now has the bishop pair, but the better structure now for Wesley. Nakamura immediately challenges the center and also defines the central structure here after d5. It's now a closed structure. And we'd love this bishop to be somewhere over here. But at the moment, it's not doing too well over here. And a4 also helps tremendously for white. The idea is not to allow black to play a4. If black were to move, maybe he'd play a4 and try to gain some scope for his pieces. So a4, restricting the black pieces. Rook e8, bishop d2, heading for this beautiful square here, because there's no counterpart. So this bishop looks like could become pretty good. But c4, freeing the bishop. It can now come to c5 and maybe b4. Rook b8, and the bishop goes to this lovely square, and now bishop to c5. We have this tension. b2 is attacked and a5, so if we take on a5, black takes on b2, so that's a good trade for black. So rook e2 and f6, allowing the capture on a5, but now on the other hand we can play rook here, attack the bishop, which has to move, and then this pawn is under attack, so the a pawn is always defended indirectly. Bishop b4 now, and now we have this little Mexican draw standoff. Bishop d4, bishop c5, and bishop back, and knight e3 by Wesley. So he feels that his position is good enough to keep going here. Feels like he has, positional control of the position. Bishop c8 here by Nakamura. White was of course starting to take this pawn, but if you take it immediately, there's bishop a6, bishop d4 now, and bishop a6 protecting. White was threatening to take, and then after bishop a6 to play rook c2. So now he defends the pawn. Now the knight goes back, and c3, is it? I'm not sure it's a very good move here. We don't have to worry about it. We can play rook somewhere or even sacrifice, but no need to sacrifice, I think. So Nakamura is more worried about the knight and goes back with his bishop. We have another standoff here, and again it's Wesley who breaks the standoff with rook to c1, again hitting the pawn, but again counterattack on this pawn. Rook e to c2. He wants to take the pawn, but first he wants to double on the c-file. Nakamura says no, you're not taking my pawn. Fine, says Wesley, you left the king side to defend something on the queen side, so I'll go for a king side attack. G takes h4 and queen g4. Now threatening to take on f6. King f8 avoids the pin. But now Wesley feels like the black pieces are too occupied here on the queen side. And he goes for it. Bishop takes f6. Does this work? Is this how Black Friday works? You just you go for the discount. Bishop takes f6. I don't know. Let's see. G takes f6. Queen takes h4. So we got some pawns, and we're threatening this. Is this enough? King g8 was played here by Nakamura. Can he play a move like... First of all, this is protected, so can you bring the queen over? That's what I was curious about. It doesn't look like it, because queen h8, you have to interpose. Take the pawn anyway, you have to interpose. Big check here. And actually a big check here. And turns out no matter what you do, you're in big trouble. If you go here, I'm going to play knight h6, a very nice move. And the queen actually doesn't have any squares. If you go to e7, it's mate. If you go to g7, a very cheeky check on f4. You can't interpose, and I win your queen. So these variations actually lose if you play queen f7. So therefore Nakamura tried to play king g8 here. For the moment we can't bring a rook in, because rook c3 it can be taken, rook takes, and we can even play rook b3 to diffuse the bomb, the rook bomb coming over. So that's not going to happen just yet. So rook e2, trying to get another route to go here. Rook e5. Nakamura feels that he has to get rid of this knight. Rook e3, he not takes. But Wesley doesn't take back. He plays the brilliant rook h3. And big threat, rook check, queen check and rook check. And that's going to be mate. And well, there's no defense, but Nakamura didn't find it anyway. He played rook g5. He could try this, but we will take, and this is coming. Probably the best moves here, but after this we can move the queen, and f4 is incoming. And material will be lost, and the attack continues, but that would have been the best fighting chance. Rook g5 as played by Nakamura is simply mate in a few moves, check, and rook h7. And the curtain drops. If we go here, we can give a rook check, king comes back, queen takes, back rank issues, power excellence, and black will be mated. Game 3, Nakamura with white, draw. So we are now in game 4. Nakamura needs to win, and again he has the black pieces, and Wesley goes for d4 this time around. Must win situation. No queen's gambits here, so f5. Nakamura goes for the Dutch, probably the Leningrad Dutch. We'll have to wait and see which moves he chooses here. Does he go for e6 classical Dutch or d5, e6, d5 Stonewall? Well, he has played the Leningrad in the past, so I think that's what he will do here. The Leningrad Dutch indeed. Castles, castles. And now a sensible variation by Wesley, b3. A very solid line. A line that's very, very difficult to win against, and well, that fits the bill perfectly. Wesley only needs to draw here to win day 1, the first mini match. Bishop e2, normal development. e6 by Nakamura. Very, very sensible development by white. I mean, this you can almost play these moves almost automatically. But Nakamura, yeah, he feels like he has to go for a big attack here. He needs to win, so he goes g5 here. Wesley takes on e4, and we have some trades here. After d5, Wesley takes on c6. So we've gotten rid of the knights, and that's always should be good for the person trying not to lose. The knights can be tricky, and now you can actually even allow some weaknesses on the king side that the knights can't jump into. You see what I mean in just a few moves. After queen c2, bishop a6, rook a to c1, g4 by Nakamura. Not necessarily the best move, but Wesley played e3 here, just staying very solid. And there's never going to be any knight that's going to jump to jump around, go to g5 and f3, which could be very dangerous. But now with the bishop, everything is more or less closed. This bishop is not going to travel around and do any damage over here. Everything is closed. This bishop the same. It's so blocked by the white pawns. The only threat is down the f file or opening the h file. But in both cases, it looks rather slow. So the attacking chances seem rather slim here for Nakamura. At the moment, the only chance is to go for something like this and check on h2. Although it isn't made just yet. Let's see how it goes with that. Does it go for that? He doesn't. He plays h5 here. So now there's no longer anything on the h file. So this limits the attacking possibilities. Surely Nakamura did consider such possibilities, but didn't see anything he fancied. Rook d1, bishop h6, queen d2, just eyeing some squares, a5 here or b4 for the queen. Bishop c8 and queen b4. Now he wants to land here on e7 and get a queen trade. Nakamura can't allow that. Queen a5. And now Nakamura actually more or less has to trade, because if you go back with the bishop, Wesley will just repeat and a draw is good for him. So we have a trade here. And now Wesley never has to worry about any bishop sacrifices on e3 or d4. Some stuff like that. So statically white is very solid here. He only has to defend the base here on f2. There's hardly going to be any checkmate attacks on the h file. He does play rook h6 here, but queen a5, annoying move, just keeping an eye on this pawn so the queen can't move. If the queen goes out here and here, we just calmly take here and even bring the queen back on g3 if needed. And there's no mate on the h file. The king simply goes to f1. So I'm not very optimistic about Nakamura's attack here. And after some back and forth moves here, he now takes on g3, queen a5, back and forth, which is good for Wesley. So Nakamura has to try something else. Rook b8, queen a5. At the moment, the pawn up for Wesley, but the main feature is that there's nothing going on. Queen O is trying to keep an eye on this pawn so the queen can't move. Eventually Nakamura gets his pawn back, but there's simply no progress to be made for black. Now this is under attack. He does play c6, bishop f1 by Wesley, and yeah, I mean black is completely tied down. There's no attacking chances. He's not going to attack anything. If these pieces move, and this pawn here is simply a sitting duck. And yeah, the situation is so grim that Nakamura, even in a must-win situation, offered a draw, which Wesley accepted. There's no reason for Wesley to play for a win. I mean, a draw wins day one of the match. If anyone can play for a win, it's white, but yeah, no need to do that. So Wesley So takes day one. So yeah, similar situation to the quarterfinals for Nakamura. He needs to come back. He needs to win the match on day two to force the tiebreak. We'll see how that goes. I'll ask you to like the video if you liked it, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow with a roundup of day two of action here in the semifinals. See you then. Bye bye.